Hey, it's Katie, and welcome back to my booktube channel. Today, I will be telling you guys about all the books that I'm hoping to read this month, and unlike the other months that I've done a TBR, this doesn't really have a specific genre or theme because this year, by the end of March, I was trying to read a book that starts with each letter of the alphabet. And so this TBR is kind of focused on the other letters that I still need a book for. So it's kind of like a weird hodgepodge of different genres and random books that I found that started with certain letters. Up first, we have Lore by Alexandra Bracken, and this actually isn't part of the alphabet thing I was talking about, but I have the Owl Crate and the Fairy Loot edition, so since I have two versions, I figured that's a huge sign that I should read this book. But this one is based on Greek mythology, and I honestly don't know too much about it. I know that every 7 years, the gods are forced to walk the earth as humans, and if they are killed, whoever kills them gets their powers and gets to be immortal. And that's really all I know about it, but it sounds like a very interesting concept, and I love mythology, so I'm very excited to pick this one up. Next, we have An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson, and our main character, Isabel, is a painter, and these immortal creatures come to her to paint portraits for them because if they do anything like that or any other kind of human craft, they could die. And her first royal client, Rook, asks her to paint him a portrait, and she does, but she ends up painting human sorrow in his eyes, and that could cost him the throne and his life. So he ends up taking her away to be put on trial, but they end up being attacked and forced to work together and learn to trust each other to fight for their survival. And I honestly heard about this recently, and I also have Sorcery of Thorns by the same author, which I've heard great things about as well. So that's what really made me pick this one up. And also it sounds amazing. It sounds like the perfect opportunity for an enemies to lovers. I love anything that deals with immortal creatures, and I'm very excited to dive into this one. After that, we have Fame, Fate, and the First Kiss by Casey West. And this focuses on Lacey, who is an actress getting her first big break, but it's not as perfect as she thought it would be because she's having trouble bonding with her co-stars. Her dad is forcing her to be tutored by this guy Donovan, and somebody is trying to sabotage her on set. And through trying to figure out who's been sabotaging her, she ends up getting closer to Donovan, but she starts to get worried that he's going to distract her from her career. And honestly, the main reason I wanted to read this one is because it's a Casey West book, and it started with the letter F, which I needed for the alphabet thing, and that's really all I needed to pick this one up, but it sounds really good, so I'm very excited to dive into another Casey West book. The next book is Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist by Rachel Cohn and David Levithan. And this is about Nick, whose ex-girlfriend just walked in, and so he turns to the girl next to him and asks her to pretend to be his girlfriend for the next 5 minutes. And they end up making out and then spending the rest of the night going on all of these adventures for their first date throughout Manhattan. And this one just sounds really good because I just read Dash and Lily's Book of Dares back in December, and I really enjoyed that, and I enjoyed the Netflix show too. So since this is by the same authors, I am really looking forward to it, and I hope that I enjoy it just as much. Up next, we have The Queen's Assassin by Melissa De La Cruz, and I'm going to be completely honest with the fact that I really don't know what this is about. I was just very excited to find a book that started with the letter Q because I could not find one up to this point. And I also have some of Melissa's books, and I haven't had a chance to read those, but I do know that they're pretty popular, so I figured that I would really enjoy it, especially because this is a high fantasy romance, so all of the components are there. I think I'll probably enjoy it, even though I have no idea what it's about. Then we have Parachutes by Kelly Yang, and this is told from dual perspectives. First, we have Claire, who is a parachute, which is basically a teenager sent to the United States to live with a host family and to go to school there, while her wealthy parents stay home in Shanghai. And she goes here and she has this newfound freedom that she's never really had before and has to kind of figure out how to live her life like that. And then on the other hand, we have Danny, who is Claire's host sister and is really upset that her mom decided to take Claire in because she really wants nothing to do with this whole situation. And so this book learns about their relationship and their lives separately, obviously, but then also how when certain things are happening in their lives, they start to intertwine and form bonds that they didn't really think they could when they first met. I don't know if that made sense. Hopefully it did, but honestly, the thing that drew me in at first was the cover because it's gorgeous, and sometimes I judge a book by a cover. I think we all do at some points, but it's okay. And that's what drew me in initially. But then I thought it was a really cool concept to read about parachutes because that's very interesting to experience living with a host family, going to a completely different country and having to basically go through all of this culture shock. So I'm very excited to experience that. Our next one is Once and For All by Sarah Dessen. And our main character, Luna, has been helping her mother with her wedding planning business, so she has experienced every outcome to everybody's perfect day. So this kind of causes her to be cynical when it comes to happily ever afters. And one day, Ambrose walks into her life, and he is very handsome and a serial dater, and he's convinced that he can change Luna's outlook on love. This one sounds really great because I love anything that has to do with wedding planning or event planning, and also I'm engaged, so I have to start thinking about planning my own wedding. So I'm very excited to experience those events and also to see Luna shift her view on love. Then we have The Unexpected Everything by Morgan Matson, and I'm actually using this one for the letter X because I couldn't think of any, and it has an X in it, so I think it counts. But this one follows Andy, who has her whole life perfectly planned until her dad goes through this political scandal and kind of shakes everything up in her life. And that's really all I know about it, but it looks like a fun summary book, and I know that she ends up walking a lot of dogs because there's a lot of dogs on the cover all over. So I love dogs, so that'll be fun. But I definitely feel like I need a fun, summary romance type thing because it's been cold and wintry for too long and I need a little pick-me-up. The next book is The Voting Booth by Brandy Colbert, and this follows Marva, who's very excited to vote in her first election and make a difference. But when she ends up getting in line, she sees Duke being turned away from the polls. And because she is so into voting and she's been helping people register and all of that, she takes it upon herself to go on this adventure with Duke, going from precinct to precinct until he is able to get his vote counted. I initially wanted to read this book pretty soon after it came out, but because of everything happening with the 2020 election, I felt like I needed to take a break from election things. But now I finally feel ready to dive into this book, and I'm very excited. And last but not least, we have Zen Diagram by Wendy Brandt. And I honestly didn't even know this book existed until today, but I needed a book for the letter Z, and I'm very glad that I found this one. Our main character, Eva, is a loner at school, but this is her own choice because she has this ability where if she touches anybody or any of their belongings, she gets insight into their secrets and their insecurities and fears. And so she tries to distance herself because that's a lot to go through. But one day she touches her classmate Zen's jacket and she gets a flash of something really dark. And for some reason, she's not able to stay away from him after that moment. It sounds really cool and unique that Eva is able to just touch somebody or something and get this flash of their fears and insecurities and all of that. I feel like that's such a cool concept for a character. And also, I love that when she touches something of Zen's, it's a dark flash. I feel like that just adds such a cool twist to the story. And I feel like that means that there could be some angst, which I honestly really like in high school romances. So I have some pretty high hopes for this one. Alright, so those are all of the books that I hope to read this month. We'll see how many I actually read, but please comment below what books you hope to read this month, and also if you would like me to do a video on the whole alphabet that I ended up reading this year already, because I feel like that'd be really fun to tell you guys my favorite book that starts with each letter, so I'd love to know if you'd be interested in that. And also, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I would really, really appreciate it. And if you do subscribe, click the notification bell so you know when I upload next. But thank you guys so much for watching. I can't wait to see you in my next video.